I think you're over worrying. It's not new.
Do you really think that I worry?
Yeah. I think you worry.
I would agree with the fact that I think that I have a bad habit of overanalyzing. I think that's probably the better way to put it. Rather than maybe necessarily worrying, because, yeah, sometimes it's worry, sometimes
it's overanalyzing.
It's overanalyzing.
Welcome to My Hill to Die On, episode 86.
Everyone has things they're passionate about.
Things we want our friends to try and experience.
So we've convinced each other to try different things.
And we talk about these experiences to see if we can get just one more person
to join us on our hill to die on. Nate, today I'm going to tell you about a game I have semi-recently played.
Disco Zoo? Disco Zoo has new levels now, did I tell you?
You did not tell me that Disco Zoo has new levels. Can you tell me all about Disco Zoo's new levels? Wait, sorry. I need to add a little bit more enthusiasm in my voice. Tell me all about Disco Zoo's new levels.
Now in space, instead of just going to Moon and Mars, you can go to the constellations.
Ah.
Very exciting. And you can go fetch nocturnal animals here on Earth. So yes, new levels, new things. I was actually pretty close to finishing up as it was, and then I had to get all of those new things. So I got all of them now, and now I'm set to finishing up again. Anyways, it's fun, Ryan. I've been having fun playing Disco Zoo.
You know what? Far be it from me to stand in the way of somebody else's fun. Just don't expect me to join.
Yeah, okay. You're missing out.
You say that, but I mean, I'm sure that people out there are also saying that we're missing out by not watching the sports ball tournament that is tonight.
Yep. Well, technically it's tomorrow morning for us.
Well, are you going to watch it tomorrow morning? Because I sure am not.
I don't know if I'll be able to. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know if it's going to be streaming in Japan.
Yes, because we won't know if the one big football team or the other big football team will be the best big football team.
Well, the best of that evening. or of that half an hour.
Yeah, well, again, you are not talking to somebody who pays very close attention to that. And I'm sure that I upset so many people and so many family members even, because that is a true statement. But today I'm actually going to talk to you about lies.
Lies?
Lies, specifically the lies of P.
Okay.
So this was a game that I played a while back that I just never got a chance to talk about. It is a game that is based on the Dark Souls and Soulsborne kind of style of gameplay, but the game is based on the story of Pinocchio.
Oh, okay. So is that what the P stands for?
Yes. P is supposed to be Pinocchio.
All right. Because the lies make his nose long. Okay.
Well, in this game, Pinocchio, or, well, specifically Geppetto's puppet, he's an automaton, a metal automaton that they call a puppet.
Okay.
And he is going through this fallen city trying to figure out what has happened. So the world is powered by this new mineral, this new advanced substance that they can use to power a lot of things and add extra features into these things. And I believe they called it ergo. And that stuff is also what powers puppets. That being said, these puppets at a certain point start to lose their mind a little bit. So they discover this way to use this mineral to power this society and all that stuff. What is eventually revealed in the story is that ergo is causing problems in society and is actually causing people to get infected with this disease. And because the puppets were designed to try to protect people, that they kind of go crazy to try to prevent the world from falling apart by preventing more ergo from being used in a very specific way. And all this stuff happens. But it's all based around the story of Pinocchio, but the story has been definitely twisted. But what's really fun is, because it's all based around the story of Pinocchio, the very end of the game, you are fighting against Geppetto, essentially. His entire goal was to get you to become as human as possible, and the only way he could do that was to get Pinocchio to lie and become more and more human. Because to lie in this game is something that only humans can do. And so every other machine, every other puppet in the world cannot lie. And the one difference between you and every other puppet is the fact that you have the ability to lie. And so the more you lie throughout the game, the more your character becomes more human, essentially. But at the very end of the game, you are confronted by Geppetto, who is trying to get Pinocchio, trying to get your character to give up his mechanical heart, which has been like slowly becoming more and more human because of all this stuff. And he wants to take that heart so that he can revive another puppet based on his son who passed away. And so he's basically trying to revive his son through your sacrifice. And the final battle is essentially you can either say, yes, okay, I want your son to be revived. And the reason why you would potentially do this is because the backstory is your character and the boy who passed away, Carlo, knew each other and they were friends, that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. The other option is that you could refuse and essentially fight against Geppetto and become your own person. You don't have strings to hold you down. And again, it's all based on the old stories. So like one of the other main characters in the game is a character named Sophia, who is essentially supposed to be something like the Blue Fairy from the old stories. And she is the character who he actually is essentially his guide throughout the story. And yes, there is a mechanical cricket called Jiminy. So it's interesting because a lot of it is based on not the Disney idea of Pinocchio, but actually the really, really dark stories of Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. But it is all based on this kind of, I guess I would say it's closest to maybe kind of a steampunk aesthetic and that kind of idea, and mixing that with robots and mixing that with the story of Pinocchio. Mm-hmm. And it's just a fun game. Again, it has a lot of interesting parts to the game where, for example, one of the cool aspects is every weapon you find in the game can actually be broken down into two parts, the handle and the blade, or the handle and the main component, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And throughout the game, you can actually merge different weapon bits together to make your own unique style of weapon, which is fun because you can change the way that you swing a weapon with what kind of blade or attachment is on the front end. So, for example, this would be a terrible weapon to do it with, but you could get a giant hammer and attach it to a dagger handle so that you're stabbing with a hammer. Mm-hmm. It's just a fun little part of that game. Again, it is that kind of weird middle ground between like steampunk and the actual city is kind of very like, I think it's called Belle Epoque kind of like architecture. According to the GameComs Award, when it originally came out, it won the Best Action Adventure, Best Role-Playing, and the Most Wanted Sony PlayStation Game. For the Game Awards, which is actually the bigger one generally, they were nominated for Best Art Direction and Best Role-Playing Game, but did not win those. But why did they not win? Let's see. Because that would have been the year that Baldur's Gate won. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That seemed, I recognize that game, so yeah. Never played it, but I've heard a lot about it.
Well, yeah, that one was a big name. Mm-hmm. If that one was up for the game of the year, yeah, that makes sense that it didn't. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a very fun game. I really liked the twisty story that was based so heavily on those old Pinocchio stories. It was definitely an interesting choice, and I think it worked really well.
Interesting.
All right, so Nate,
mm-hmm.
This week you had me read a book. Well, two books.
2 books, yes.
We can even say multiple books.
Yes. Not the same, but yes, multiple
books. And in these books, they are dealing with clones, and one of the issues that comes up, especially in the first book, is that multiples of a clone are a bad thing in this society.
Yes. You're very frowned upon.
Yeah. You can't have more than one person.
Right.
I mean, what would the world do if there was like 2 Ryans walking around?
It would be different.
Different is a word. I think I would be harsher than different.
Do you think you could get more done if there were 2 of you?
No, I do not. I think I would distract myself.
Probably.
Do you think you would get more done if there were 2 of you?
Probably not also.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice to at the very least be like, all right, this Ryan is going to go and hole himself up and just be a teacher. And this Ryan is going to hole himself up and just be a tech person. I guess.
Yeah, but that's like Severance, you know?
Yeah, I get, that is like Severance, but I think that would be also a way that I could keep myself apart from myself and maybe then focus on the things I needed to get done.
Mm-hmm. I do think, watching Severance again, it's just season 2 has been going on, right? So I've been watching some of that. And yeah, it's just horrible, Severance, actually. To force a person to only work is rough. And what makes us who we are.
Well, don't you know you're defined by your job?
That's not exactly what I meant, but...
No, I'm joking. I'm saying that you as an individual are more than your job.
Right. Anyway, it's interesting to think about. But yes, so Ryan, because of the multiple thing.
Yeah, because of the multiple thing. Because
getting back to that.
Because we definitely tangented.
Getting back to that.
Yeah.
Let's pick things that we have ended up with multiples of.
Okay. So, for example, things that we ended up with like 4 or 5 copies of for some reason.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oy. This is going to be probably a walk of shame for me.
Maybe. Do you want to go first?
Sure. The moment that we thought about things that we ended up with multiples of, my first reaction was a video game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's understandable.
And there are 2 that come to mind that I ended up with multiples of.
Okay.
And the fact that I have 2 of them that come to mind means I have a problem. Because there's probably more, and those are just the 2 that stood out. So the reason why I think of video games is because of 2 specific games. The first one is probably more obvious, and that is The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The game most often just known as Skyrim, and how many copies of it I ended up with.
Okay.
So, Mukashi. Way back when, I originally had an Xbox 360. And when I had an Xbox, that was the only system I had at the time. And at that time, that's when the game Skyrim first came out. Way back in the old yesteryear of 2011. Mm-hmm. 2011, oh man. All right, sorry. Brain. So I started playing Skyrim on my Xbox and played that for a couple of years. Then, a couple of years later, I ended up selling my Xbox because my brother had given me his old PlayStation 3. Well, at that time, he also gave me all his games, which included his copy of Skyrim. So I ended up with a second copy of Skyrim because I was no longer playing my Xbox version, but I now had a PS3 version.
So original release.
Well, still original release. Then, a little bit later, I'm trying to remember if the PlayStation 3 had a special edition. I believe it did. Because the special edition of it came out... No, it was the Legendary Edition next. Sorry. Brain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to remember when things happened.
Well, I was looking at that. There are like 6 different editions as well. So it's not... You have to remember not only which system but which version.
Yes. So after my PlayStation 3 version, I had that. Then I ended up getting a PS4. And when I had a PS4, well, I couldn't play my game of Skyrim on the PS4 anymore because I only had a PS3 version. So I happened to go out and buy the Legendary Edition of the game because, it's just a fun game that you have to keep going back to every couple of years. So at that point, yes, I am up to 3 copies of this game. Well, a couple of years later, I had gotten a Switch. And you know what's a great game for your Switch? The Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I ended up with a copy on there. And you'd think that that was done. There's a problem, though. PlayStation 5 came out.
You don't have it for PlayStation 5?
Well, you can play the PlayStation 4 version on PlayStation 5, but there was a small problem. I had that one digitally, the PlayStation 4 version, and I ended up, because of some other things that happened around the same time, I had to buy the PlayStation 5 version to get access to it again. And I bought that one physically, so, you know. So, by the end of the entire journey, I had purchased an Xbox 360 version. I'd gotten my brother's copy of the PlayStation 3 version. Then I had bought a PlayStation 4 version. Then I had bought the Nintendo Switch version. And then I had bought the PlayStation 5 version. So in the 14 years since this game came out, I had bought 5 different versions of this game.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's game number 1. The other one's more reasonable. The other one that I have multiple copies of, and I only ended up with 3 of this one, was Persona 5.
Okay.
Persona 5, I ended up with 3 copies of it because first I bought a copy at Tokyo Game Show only to realize that the game was only in Japanese.
Mm-hmm. I've had that problem with Nintendo games before.
So the copy that I bought was only in Japanese, so I couldn't play the game because my reading of kanji is quite limited. So I needed to get an English version of the game. So I went out and I bought an English version a couple of months later when the English version came out. The original Persona 5 came out in Japan in 2016, and worldwide it came out in 2017. So I bought it when it first came out in Japan, thinking, oh, I can play this game now, and only to find out the English version didn't come out until 2017. So 2017 rolls by, I buy the English version, I play that, and then a couple of years later, they released the game as Persona 5 Royal because the Royal edition of the game included more characters and more scenes that weren't included in the original game. Unfortunately, you couldn't just download the Royal stuff as a DLC or anything like that. It was a whole new game. So the only way to get access to these new things was you had to buy the game all over again.
They figured it out.
Yeah,
it's not just DLC.
It's not just DLC. It's a whole new game. Well, I mean, given the amount that they added to it, that actually does make sense because they added a whole new character to join your team who did not exist in the first game. So like they had to add a whole bunch of scenes in. There were a bunch of other things that happened with like one of the other main characters in the original game. He ended up in a bad way, but didn't in the next version. Yeah, it was a bunch of things. But yeah, so those were the 2 games that I thought of as I have owned a lot of copies of these games.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I have reasons for them all. Whether or not they make sense, I would disagree. That is a different statement.
Yeah, the reasons make.
I have reasons. Whether it makes sense, no. Now, just to help regain a little bit of my name, do keep in mind that I tend to only buy games when they go on sale.
Yeah.
So it's not like I was buying these games all at like $60 a pop.
Right, or right when you realized you didn't have it, you waited around.
Yeah. I will say the one exception on the list of these 2 games to that was when I bought the Persona 5 in Japanese. That one was full price. I learned from my mistake.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You make that mistake once and now you don't do it again. So this happened to be the one, huh? Yep.
All right. What have you ended up with multiples of, though?
Well, I think this is a little bit more on purpose than yours.
Okay.
It's a little less of a mistake and a little more on purpose. But, I mean, I've told my story of my Kindles a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a Kindle from my wife for Christmas a while back because we had gotten more into libraries in America from here, which is convenient for us here in Japan, because libraries in Japan don't have English books for obvious reasons. One of the ways it's easy to get library books in Japan here is through the digital collections that libraries in America have. So my wife was getting some ebooks, and I was like, well, if you're getting ebooks, you should read from a Kindle. It's just easier. So she tried it a little bit, but it didn't catch on for some reason because she had the Kindle app on her phone. So why did she need a Kindle? She had her phone always with her. So it didn't catch on right away. And that kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, I can see. So she stopped using it. So I started using it. And then I told the story in a previous episode, but then I needed a second Kindle because I was reading 2 books at the same time. So I, slowly searched Yahoo Auction until I found one that was cheap, and then I bought it. And so then I had a second Kindle. And I forget what happened, but over Christmas break, my kids were like, oh, I need a Kindle to read this book off of the library or whatever. I was like, okay, fine. So I would lend them one of my Kindles for a while, and I would use the Kindle app on my phone for the second Kindle. And they're like, no, we need it more often. And then they're like, okay, one daughter wants to borrow one, and then the other daughter wants to borrow one. I'm like, wow, do I lend out both my Kindles? How does this work? So I was slowly looking through Yahoo Auction again, and I found a good deal on one. So I bought another Kindle. This one's slightly nicer. Well, so my other 2 Kindles are 10th gen Paperwhites, which are pretty nice. They're nice Kindles. I like them. I like that they're waterproof. I even brought it on the hiking trip a while back, the school hiking trip. It was what I used since I wasn't really listening to podcasts or things on the school hiking trip. I read my book on the school hiking trip when there were breaks, because there's not that many of those.
Wait, you got to have a break on that trip?
Yeah, no, exactly. I was reading Armageddon Protocol, so it was worth it. Dan Warren's new book. Oh, so one of the nice things about the Paperwhite 10s is that it is waterproof. For this time, I wanted something different. Because I am looking through auctions, I want to get something nicer and pay less, right? I mean, that's kind of the point of an auction, right? You're trying to get something nice and not pay so much for it. So I wanted to get some kind of an Oasis model because I would like physical page turn buttons on a Kindle if I can get it. If I can't get it, fine, whatever. But if I could, let's get that. And since, Yahoo Auction, I just keep peeking around until I find something. So I've been going back and forth on whether I want a 8th, 9th, or 10th generation Kindle Oasis. And they all have their differences. The 8th is the smallest. The 9th and the 10th are slightly larger and have better battery situations. But they're more expensive. And again, these are like side projects, these Kindles. I shouldn't be paying too much for these already. So I ended up finding an 8th gen Kindle, and I played the game. Well, one of the games was, in this particular Kindle, the person put it up for auction, and then if nobody bid, it would become cheaper. And I was watching this Kindle get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper over time. And then I got to a price where, wow, I would pay for this, but nobody's bidding on it. So I'm going to let it get cheaper again. And I let it get cheaper again. And then it was like, oh, now it's really cheap. Now I'm definitely buying it. So I bid on it in that window and won the auction. Very pleased. And it came, and the biggest problem this time was it said it was a no ads Kindle in the text of the auction. But then when it came and I got everything all set up, it definitely had ads. And I was a bit disappointed in that. My course of action here would be to return it to him because it's not what he said it was. But at the same time, it was a pretty good price. And even if I have to pay for the upgrade to get rid of the ads, it's still worth it. So I was like, fine, I will just keep it. I told the guy it didn't have ads and I was frustrated, but I said I'm accepting it as it is anyway and moving on. So then I went to the process of, because I know I did this with my other 2 Kindles, because I know I paid to get the ads removed from those ones, because I feel the ads aren't terrible. They're not bad. I just like the experience better without them. I don't really like seeing the ads. I like seeing the cover of my book on the Kindle. I don't like having to swipe up every time you open it up. Again, it's not a big deal. You can swipe up every time. But for me, I just didn't want to do it. And I might as well get rid of it at the beginning here now, as opposed to waiting a year and then paying it. Like if I'm going to pay for it at some point, I'm just going to pay for it now. So I was taking a look, and this time, since it was a Japanese Kindle, I was like, oh, I'll just go to the Japanese store and get rid of the ads, pay for the upgrade there. Couldn't find it. Was talking to Amazon Japan support via text, and I'm like, oh, no, we can't do it. So I was like, fine, I'll log into the American store and do it there, set up the Kindle as an American Kindle, which is what I want anyway, because all my Kindle stuff's in America. set it up as America, talk to the guy. Oh, it's a Japanese Kindle. They can't do it for me. I have to do it online. Fine. I wanted to do it with my Japanese credit card because I wanted to pay in yen. I didn't want to pay in dollars because of the exchange rate right now. And although that would have hurt in yen anyway.
Yeah.
But still, I would have rather have paid in yen. But I couldn't do it because, again, there was an error with your payment method. And I was like, oh, it's because my card is in Japan. So then I changed it to my American credit card, and of course everything went through. But it was interesting to learn throughout this whole process that in Japan, you can't at all, ever, anywhere, upgrade a Kindle to do without ads. There was no method for that. So that was very surprising to me. When I set it up as an American Kindle right away, there was a thing on the Kindle page that says, hey, pay this money to get rid of the ads. I was like, great. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll set it up as Japan again, see if I can find that button on the Japanese Amazon. But no, that button doesn't ever come up. And then finally, through talking to the text people, they're like, yeah, you can't ever change a Japanese Kindle to be no ads. You have to buy it that way. That's the only way of doing it. And of course, since I got it used, I can't change that now. So anyway, it was a bit frustrating because I wanted to pay in yen, not dollars, but I had to pay in dollars. It's not the end of the world, but I got my Kindle all upgraded. Of course, $20 is a lot more yen than it was before, but oh well. Because of the exchange rate problems. But yeah, but now I have 3 Kindles. I like them, and I've now lent one back to my wife, who's now reading a bunch of books in the library. So one's gone back to my wife. I am keeping my eye out for more. There was an interesting auction that went a few weeks ago that had something like 12 Kindles. Now, a lot of them are old. There was only about 3 Kindles of the 12 that I would have actually used. So calculating in my head how much those 3 Kindles were worth to me, the auction went a little bit too high for my taste. But that would have been an interesting one to get because then, yes, I could have had lots, every daughter could have had 2. Some of them would have been really old. And would I have paid to get rid of ads on all of them? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one. But it was interesting to think about that. That was kind of cool. But I haven't seen any auctions with lots of Kindles to go again. But that was kind of a neat way to get a lot of Kindles, I was thinking. But even still, that one went too much for my taste.
Yeah.
The old Kindles, they're really not worth anything to me. If I got them, great. But I was really more interested in the 3 or 4 that were actually have value. So yeah, I've ended up with a few Kindles. I like them. I think they're neat tools. I like them for reading. And I especially like the page turn buttons. So I think if I get another one I'm still thinking I'd probably get an Oasis 10, a 9 or 10. So we'll have to see. Nothing has been cheap yet, so oh well. When I bought my first Yahoo auction Kindle, I got that as a really good price, and they're not that cheap anymore. Looking at auctions, I've been watching the 10th generation Paperwhites go to, and they go for more than I paid for mine. So I got a good deal, and I'll just keep waiting for the next good deal. I got time.
Hey, one day you will be able to create a throne of Kindles.
I hope not. I'm hoping I'm only getting 1 more, unless I do find one of those auctions where I'm getting 10 because I paid a little bit of money for 10, but I probably not.
All right. So the second thing that I have received multiples of, or I have ended up with multiples of that I think of, is furniture.
I didn't think of that. That is good.
You're welcome.
Should I start this story?
Sure. Go right ahead.
Alrighty. Well, I guess you got to say what it is, though.
Well, all right. So I'm actually going to be a little bit more broad than just the most recent one.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. In my time living here in Japan, I have moved a couple of times. So when I first moved here, I lived in an apartment, and then I moved out to a house, and then I moved to another apartment after that, and then I finally moved into the apartment that I'm currently living in. In each of those moves, I ended up with more stuff. When I first came, the school provided some initial furniture for me. In my second apartment, I was moving into the house that was being vacated by a guy who worked for a school and then was leaving. So I ended up with all of his stuff. Well, all of the stuff that he didn't want to bring with him to his next location. Actually, the third one, I don't think I ended up with new things. But in the fourth one, I moved into a apartment that was being vacated by somebody who was leaving the country. So I also ended up with anything they didn't want to take with them outside of the country. So in each of those moves where I said I ended up with more stuff, I ended up with multiples of certain things. For example, just picking something randomly out of the air, for several years had in my house 2 irons and 2 ironing boards, 2 vacuum cleaners, 3 sets of the same dishes. Yeah, these are the things that I ended up with multiples of. I have been able to slowly get rid of them, but the difficulty was every time I moved, I ended up with another person's copy of, well, often it was the furniture that was provided for the staff when they first come to Japan. By the way, I would just like to say that I still have 2 ironing boards, but I only have 1 iron now. I want to say that because I remember a statement that was made about my ironing this past week.
Yeah, we were just pulling your leg.
Oh, I know.
But I was thinking 2 ironing boards, 2 irons, you can do 2-handed ironing.
I could. I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's still probably a bad idea.
Yeah, it's definitely a bad idea. So that all being said, one of the things I did end up with while going through this entire process, let's go with that word, was I ended up with a couch. Now, I loved this couch. It was a very good couch. But I received it when I moved into the house that I moved into. And when I moved in, that couch had already been around for about 4 or 5 years at that point. And I have used that couch for an additional 8 years now. And this most recent year, I have realized that the couch needed replacing. And when I was thinking about that, I was also thinking about how it'd be nice to move to having a recliner rather than a couch. And then Nate steps in. Nate offered me a recliner from his house because he was trying to get rid of it. And then a couple of months after I received that recliner, you came up to me and said, "Hey, Ryan, do you want a second recliner?" Because another of your family members was getting rid of an identical recliner. So guess what? I've got multiples again.
You have 2 of the same recliner.
I have 2 of the same recliner, which, oh, by the way, when I first got your recliner, I had the same thing, but for like the first couple of weeks of regularly using the recliner, how many little black shards of lining appear everywhere.
Sorry.
So the one that you've given me, that you originally gave me, no longer seems to let out any shedding. Because pretty much I think there's none left to give. This one has not gotten rid of all those yet. And so did I have a small pile of that this morning when I decided to sweep up the area around that chair? Yep.
I mean, these are old. I don't know how old they are.
They are at least in better condition than the couch was, though.
Oh, yeah. They're not losing any of their spring or anything like that. No. It's just the fabric lining underneath has started to wear away.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we got these from Costco probably 10-ish years ago.
Yeah. Which still means that they're at least going to be about 4 or 5 years younger than my couch was.
And they're still, I mean, they're leather. So the surfaces are wearing, I think they were wearing a little bit, but not very much at all. I was pretty pleased with the condition of the leather itself.
Yeah, and I will say that the one that your
in-laws
had, that one, since it seems like it has been used so little,
right,
is actually in really good condition.
I mean, the funny thing was, we saw these couches at Costco, and at that time we were thinking of getting a recliner, and I didn't have my license to drive in Japan yet. So I think we had asked my sister-in-law to drive us. Well, I'm pretty sure we had asked my sister-in-law to drive us. We were there with her. And I think probably, I probably only had 2 daughters back then. So, okay, maybe 10, 11 years old. So we went to Costco, saw these. My wife was like, yeah, I think we should buy one. And then my sister-in-law was like, yeah, I bet you her mother, my mother-in-law would like one too. It's like, okay, we'll buy 2. And my sister-in-law was driving us in my in-laws' Honda Fit. So not a very large car, right? And there's a lot of us in this car, 3 adults and 2 kids. So we're like, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll buy the recliners and set them on layaway here. My sister-in-law will drive all of us back, and then I will come back with my sister-in-law, and we'll put them into the Honda Fit somehow, and then come back and, drop them all off. We're like, okay, this will work, I think. I think this will work, right? And we're thinking maybe we'll have to take 1 trip, maybe we'll take 2 trips. And then, of course, traffic in Japan took forever. So by the time we got back there, it was already like store closing time. And we're like, okay, we have to take both recliners out of layaway. So then we take both recliners out of layaway and then bring them upstairs to the Honda Fit. And of course, the box doesn't fit in the back of the car. The car's pretty big. The car's not, I'm sorry, it's a very tiny car. But I thought that the storage compartment of the car is much bigger than the opening the hatch allows. So we couldn't, I think the box would have fit into the back of the car if the hatch was as big as the storage area, but of course it wasn't. So, okay, we're opening up the boxes out there in the parking lot. Of course, the parking lot's empty because everyone had left already. And the chairs come in 2 pieces, as you saw. We were finally able to finagle the chairs in both their pieces into the back of the car and still close the back of the car. I think we had pushed our seats as far forward as they would go. But we were able to fit both 2 recliners in the back of a Honda Fit. And that's pretty good, actually, if you take a look at those chairs. And I think my sister-in-law driving was fairly nervous. I was having a great time. I would have been fine, but I didn't have a license, so I was just riding along. And I was a little bit squished, but hey, big deal. It was only for, an hour of Japanese traffic. And then we got them back and installed them. So, yes, you'll be happy to know, Ryan, that you can successfully, if you really try and squeeze it, can fit 2 recliners in the back of a Honda Fit. Very tightly. It's much better in the back of my station wagon, which is when it moved to your house. Much easier. My minivan. My minivan was in fact, I took it apart only for ease of moving it up and down the stairs than for anything else. Could have fit it all put together in the back of the minivan, but there we go. So that was quite an adventure getting both of those recliners back to our houses back then, and without puncturing any of the leather with the sharp bit of the thing that comes off. So, and they're pretty nice recliners, right? They recline very nicely.
Yeah, they do.
They're very overstuffed and huge. What's funny about Costco in Japan is that everything is American, right? American big. And these recliners are American big. When we had them, when my daughters were growing up, you could easily fit 2 daughters on that chair with lots of space around them, even though it's a 1-person recliner, right? Mm. It's American big, so it's fun.
Since I have gotten these recliners, it is very easy for me to start dozing after work in one of them. And that's the real danger right there. Because sometimes it's really easy to, hey, I'm definitely awake. I'm really awake.
Yep, and then out you are. Uh-huh. Nope, I did like them. I wish we could have kept them because they're just so nice. I did like taking naps in them, but we just don't have the space for them.
Yeah, you do realize I have a smaller space than you.
Yes, but you have less people than us.
You are right there. My apartment does not have a lot of people regularly in it.
Yep, and all your other people's things.
Other people have things? I thought they just, had to deal with only my stuff in the house.
All right, my turn.
Your next multiple.
My last one. All right, I have definitely ended up with a lot of copies of Star Trek, the television show, all the different ones in multiple media formats.
Ah.
I think the first one I owned, and that's an owned in quotes,
was Enterprise.
No. Well, no, I'm pretty sure the first one I owned was TNG. Recorded off of cable at college on tape.
I see why you say owned.
Owned in quotes, right. Because it was on TV, and I worked in the media department at the school, and they had a whole rack full of VCRs set up for recording cable for for education purposes, which we actually did use for education purposes. And had stickers to prove that. But I recorded cable. I recorded off of cable the Star Trek Next Generation and had it there.
Yeah. Hey, those are educational.
They are very educational. Then I started buying the DVDs when they came out. I think I owned 5 of the 7 seasons on DVD. I think I don't own seasons 1 and 2 on DVD. I think I own 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on DVD. So then I owned those there. Then I, once coming to Japan, recorded seasons 1 and 2 off of cable here in SD quality And then when it started coming out in Japan here in HD quality, I recorded it yet again. So I have it in HD quality, recorded off of cable. And I think I technically don't own it on Apple next gen. I have a bunch of other of the series on Apple, but I don't have that one. I have Voyager and Enterprise and Discovery on Apple iTunes purchases, but I don't think I own next gen yet.
Let's see. Speaking of owning it on Apple, I have next gen, Voyager, DS9, and Picard.
Oh yeah, Picard. I have Picard.
Yeah, you do.
Star Trek's a good show to own. I own lots of it. I've owned next gen in the most different versions. I don't think I ever bought physical media of the other versions. I've only owned them digitally, whether recorded off of cable or purchased in Apple iTunes.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I've enjoyed Star Trek. It's a good show. I've been watching through it again. It's good stuff.
So I only have one question for you. Do you have this brown sugar molasses monstrosity thing that you're subjecting me to?
Yes, Ryan. I went to the store and I was like, oh, look at this weird thing. Mitsuya Cider Gold Select. What does that mean? And then I ran the Translate app on it and it's like, oh, molasses soda. Yes, I'm getting that.
Molasses soda.
And wouldn't you know, there was a lot of them on the shelf.
Yeah.
To choose from.
Why weren't all these just bought up so quickly?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. And you know what? The next week that was there was still a lot on the shelf. And the week after that, there was still a lot on the shelf. I don't think these were flying off the shelf. So that's speaking volumes right there.
Nate, you always buy me only the best.
I know. And it was getting cheaper too, by the way. And I did pretty well on getting these at a pretty good price. I forget what it was. Wasn't it like 80, 85 yen, something like that? Definitely worth the money.
Well, on a positive note, these aren't expired.
Right. Hasn't expired yet.
You haven't brought me an expired drink this time.
No, it's got many months to go on this one. Many months.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, let's see what this is going to be like, huh?
Yeah, I've got feelings.
Feelings before you've tasted it.
Yep.
All righty. Ooh, wow. That smells like artificial sweetener.
I wonder why.
Oh, man. That's not a good taste.
That is...
I guess it kind of tastes like molasses. Wow. It's like a Twizzler.
It's sickly sweet.
It's got super bad aftertaste.
Do you not like Twizzlers?
Not really, no.
Ah.
Not the black ones either. Never mind. I don't think it tastes like a Twizzler. It just feels like one. Like just bad aftertastes all over the place. Is that accurate?
Well, sorry, I'm trying to let the aftertaste kick in. Okay. Yeah, so here's the thing. The initial flavor, I'm not quite hating. And the initial aftertaste, I don't immediately loathe. But the lingering aftertaste, the one that sticks around for ages, I abhor. So it's like while I'm still drinking this, I'm okay. But the longer I'm not actively drinking it, the more I hate it. Nate?
Yeah, I agree. If you keep drinking it, it's fine.
Nate, what have you done to me?
I think this might be one I'm not finishing, Ryan. This might be one.
All right, cap going back on. So, Nate, numbers.
It's not a 0, but I would say it's a 2. Ooh, that was our Fanta Peach. Our last one was a 2 also. Maybe it's worse than that. Maybe it is 1.
No.
It probably is. You don't think it's because like you said, we can keep drinking and still is okay.
Yeah, and the Fanta yogurt rush was like immediate. Just I hate this.
I'm gonna say 2, but I'm not going as high as 3.
I don't know. I am debating because if I'm looking at the most recent ones in this point range, we have Fanta Mystery at a 3, Mango Calpis at a 3. And Fanta Yogurt Rush at a 2. My feeling is that it's probably a 2. Yeah, it's probably a 2. Yeah, again, so long as I'm drinking it, I'm fine with this. But it's the fact that, I haven't taken a sip in about 2 minutes, and my tongue feels like something's growing on it.
Yeah, it's not good. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, again, the initial flavor, I don't hate it. It tastes perhaps a little too sickly sweet, but I don't hate it. I would normally give it like a 5 or a 6 if it was just the initial flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But this aftertaste, no. Just no. And I do like licorice.
Even the black ones?
No, the black ones I'm not a huge fan. I like red licorice.
Red licorice I'm okay with. Red licorice is fine.
All right. 1 sec. Let me get a palate cleanser.
Oh, you mean like a sweet potato Kit Kat or something else?
Well, I could use a sweet potato Kit Kat. It was the fact that I also had a bottle of water sitting next to me.
That works too.
Because before I have a sweet potato Kit Kat, I thought I should at least wash this swill out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So the Kit Kat we have today is sweet potato.
Mm-hmm.
Yakimo.
Yeah, I know. My wife actually just steamed up some sweet potatoes today, and they were good. So will this get to that level? I don't know.
Well, you know, Kit Kat is always great at making things taste like vegetables.
Yep.
Or, well, not really vegetable, but you know what I mean. Ooh.
Yeah, it's bespeckled.
Yeah, well, I think that might have been melted and then reconstituted.
Well, hardened. Melted and hardened.
Yeah.
It doesn't really... It has a hint of sweet potato smell.
You know what I smell? Sugar.
Yeah, I know. It actually does smell very sweet. We'll see. Sweet potatoes are sweet, but not that sweet.
Not sugar sweet.
Yeah. Let's see. I think it does taste like sweet potato.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, it's not pleasant.
Yeah. It's not.
I don't know why. It's just not pleasant. I mean, it's too sweet for one.
No. Just no. This.
Yeah.
No. This is perhaps the worst Kit Kat we've had.
Man, I thought this was going to be better. I'm actually disappointed in this. I thought it was going to be better. It had such high hopes. You know, Japan has great Yakimo stuff.
Uh-huh.
Can't do the Kit Kat,
The problem
though.
is, it was too much like sweet potato while not containing any of the good things about sweet potato.
Yep.
I'm giving that a 1.
You need your palate cleanser again, right?
I am out of water.
You're going to have some molasses.
No. I will be right back. I'm getting a drink. This is just... All right. Here's what I am saying about the sweet potato Kit Kat. It is a 1. It was the worst Kit Kat I've had ever in the history of this show. I have not had a worse Kit Kat.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with 1, too. There's really not much good for it.
No.
Anything.
It is lucky that I am not giving it a 0 and saying, may God have mercy on your soul.
You know, I think molasses soda could clean your palate.
No.
I mean, better than the 0. Or better than the 1.
You know what? The thing is, I have a hot water pot on the other side of that door. I am going to go and pour myself a nice cup of tea. So, Nate, we read 2 books for this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had you read 2 books because why ask you read 1 when I can have you read 2 books?
Because this is your revenge after having you read all of those like 30 to 40 hour books that I make you read.
Yeah, that's okay. I made you watch all of Vincenzo.
Hey, that was not a bad thing. I would gladly watch that again anytime.
So, yep, I had you read 2. This is in the same vein as another book in the Clone series, right?
Gotta have all the clones.
And I had you read 6 Wakes, which was a book about clones, which I was saying earlier that I thought that book handled... I think that book handled cloning the way that I thought the world would accept it. I don't think this book handles cloning the way the world would accept it, but it does have yet another interesting take on it. Mm-hmm. So I thought, plus also this book, I think, by the second book, finally gets into the good sci-fi stuff that I was actually interested in. Sorry, I let that slip there a little early. Okay, there's a little feelings going on there.
Well, hey, you're not allowed to have feelings yet.
It's like, finally, we talked to the aliens. All right, anyway. So, and it surprised me again this time too. I was like, whoa, the first book's over already? Like, didn't we get to right, the good stuff's in the second book. So I was like, oh yeah, right, the second book is better. All right, sorry. I mean, what? No, I didn't say that. Ryan.
Yeah?
Why don't you give a little, the now that I've kind of ruined my feelings.
Uh-huh.
Why don't you...
the elevator pitch?
Yes. So that everyone can join us in these good... I mean, they are good books. Sorry. The first book is actually... It's not bad. I do like the second book better, but...
Yeah, let's at least get to the topic. So the two books that we read were Mickey7 and Antimatter Blues. There's just the two books in the series, right?
At the moment, there's still only 2 books. I mean, I don't know if there's more or not coming, but at the moment, there's only 2.
And this is the story about Mickey, who is a colony ship's expendable, and his life journey. At the beginning of the story, Mickey gets, left in a hole to die. The problem is, he didn't die. And in between when he was left and when he makes it back home, they pull out the 8th clone, Mickey 8. And in this society, multiples of the same clone are a big faux pas.
Right. So, Ryan, did you like them?
I enjoyed the books.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few things that I felt were not my choice as a favorite part of a book.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed the books as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have problems too. I think let's start with Mickey7.
All right.
Since that's the place to start.
Starting at the beginning is a very good place to start.
Right, I agree. That's another movie, though. The things that bugs me the most in both books is, why are you not backing up more often? I mean, again, maybe because of plot holes and things. Mickey7 built up this whole, like, hey, I'm against you, and you need me, and all of this, like, throughout both books. And I was like, they're just going to kill you, and you'll forget all of that, and you'll be back at 0 again.
Yes.
Like, you need to back yourself up so that if they killed you just because they wanted to, you wouldn't be back at 0. Anyway.
Yes.
That's the biggest plot hole I didn't like.
I agree, but if we're going to argue from his perspective, why would that matter? Because if they kill him, it's not going to be him they pull out.
Yeah, it's not going to be him, right? I mean, the whole ship of Theseus, blah, blah, blah. He is the one that realizes...
Ship of Theseus, blah, blah, blah. Wow.
Oh, he goes over and over and over and over and over it throughout both books, right?
Well, yes. Although in the second one, he's more fixated on the pieces of the ship of Theseus that get left behind.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anyway.
But he realizes that he is not the same boat that left the dock.
Yeah.
He's a different boat, and as soon as he all gets repaired, he's not going to be the same person that ends up in the next body, which I think is something they kind of talked about in 6 Wakes too. Once one of you dies, one of you dies.
Yeah.
The next one is just being woken up with a head start in life, with all of the life knowledge and everything, just getting that jump ahead. So it's a different person. But yeah, so they're both dealing with this. I think Mickey7 deals with this part of it better.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say from a plot standpoint, where like if you are dealing with a hostile environment to that point where, quite frankly, you do not know if you're going to live or die, and there are certain things that you know that if the next Mickey doesn't know will screw over a whole lot of people, then yeah, absolutely, back up.
Yeah. The many times he should have backed up. Anyway.
So I'm there with you, but I can also say that from his perspective, there's not a point to back up because it is the part where he was afraid of that. But also they said it in a throwaway line where he was not backing up at a certain point because he was afraid of what was going on with some of his dreams.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where he was afraid that he was glitching or something and didn't want to bring that into the next iteration.
Right. Yeah. Which we find out later that it was Mickey 6 or Mickey 6's parts.
It was the communication device that was in Mickey 6 that got reappropriated to the Creepers.
Mm-hmm. Creepers, right. Yep.
Which, yeah, anyway, we'll get to that when we get to Antimatter Blues. Never mind.
Yep. And, okay, one of my thoughts,
okay,
speaking about how society would accept cloning, is that I don't believe that one religion would hold back the population from cloning. I believe that I have no problem with one religion having a problem with it. I think that would happen, and that did happen even in Six Wakes.
Uh-huh.
But I don't believe that one religion would hold back the rest of society from cloning.
Well, there are two things that I'll say to that.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, keep in mind that each planet, each colony, is kind of on its own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so if that colony becomes... I was almost imagining each colony kind of as its own country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, considering that, whether or not that's a good parallel is a open debate, I would say. But if that's a good parallel, can you think of any countries in the world where certain things have been held back because of their religion?
Yeah, no, I see that. So I guess you could say that, but there seemed to be a lot more. I mean, all of these people came from the same colony.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there were a lot more people open to it.
I guess the way I was seeing that is if we are going with a country that has multiple ways in which a religion or a philosophy has been adapted, and then you think of some of the more hardliners in that group might be a little bit more strict, and then it becomes, So again, I don't think it was that these things were held back by this religion, but definitely it was
More frowned upon.
But again, I think part of it is the fact that this entire story takes place on a colony ship that has left this previous colony.
Right.
And they did say that a good number of the crew members on the ship were natalists.
Yes. This particular ship seemed to have a disproportionate amount of that natalist religion than the colony did. So that skewed this particular ship's opinions on cloning.
Yeah.
That's why I guess I was thinking that, well, wouldn't the colony agree with it more than the ship did? But it doesn't.
I mean, you have 200 people on a ship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're going to rub elbows.
What?
I do agree that at first an expendable does sound nice, but then I think they do a clear job of like, wait, yeah, sounds great. Oh, you're going to live forever. Oh, wait a minute. Your job is really bad and really hard.
Yeah.
And not fun at all.
And not just that. I mean, it's basically, hey, you're going to die in awful, awful ways, and you're going to remember it when you wake back up in a new body.
Yeah. I mean, I do see... Sometimes you want the person to remember it, and sometimes I don't really think you do. Like, I don't quite get why they were like, oh, we're always going to make sure you remember exactly how it felt to be ripped apart by radiation or, whatever. Like, it's like...
Or had a brain worm eat your insides out.
Right. I guess you kind of need to remember at some, to have you need to explain the sickness to us when you're cognizant, not when you're dying. Okay. I kind of see that. But I guess that's where it gets really rough for him.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if it's like, hey, I have learned how to avoid this hole in the ground so that I don't fall in it next time. That's one thing. But if it's, hey, you remember how excruciating the pain was as you were eaten alive by parasites.
Explain it to us again, would you? Yep. It's definitely not a great job.
No. Let me just go out on a limb and say, does not sound like a fun job. Would not want.
Alrighty, I have in my notes here, driven by fear. I'm forgetting the context of that note.
Well, all the buildup in the story is because they're all absolutely afraid.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Marshall, the entire time, is kind of on that, like, you hear him talk about, we're on a war footing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's the fact that they're all absolutely afraid. And Mickey actually is the one who says at one point, in thinking about how humans interact with sentient beings, is the only one that was actually semi-successful was because they didn't interact for the first couple of years. And by the time they did interact, the humans had already kind of settled all the initial problems so that they weren't constantly in fear anymore. And so the problem was they were interacting with these creepers when they were still at that point where everybody is just jumping at shadows.
Yep. That's right. They were very just fearful of everything that was going on. All right, let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
What was the conflict in this book? I mean, I think there probably is a conflict. I just didn't care about the conflict as much in this book.
In Mickey 7, the main conflict was
that he's a duplicate, right?
he was a duplicate. He couldn't let that be found out or else he would get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And so the entire time it was, don't let them find out that you are a duplicate. Otherwise, you are going to die. And then that is resolved when, well, at the end of the book, first of all, 8 doesn't make it through the excursion they go on.
Right.
And he's able to hold the bomb over Marshall to prevent him from dying. Basically says, if you do anything to me, there is a bomb out there that you, Marshall, created.
That will kill you.
That will kill you. And if you don't want that blowing up in your face, literally, then you're going to need to keep me alive so that I can act as a liaison or interpreter between you and the creepers.
Yeah, I think I'm not as interested in that plot line.
It only was a issue because of the things they had set up about multiples in the past.
Right. Because I think I was a lot more interested in the alien negotiation plot line, which was like so background in the first book, which is why I'm always surprised. Wait, the first book is over? Wait, the book ended? Oh, right.
Because the negotiation's all in book 2.
The second book.
I guess for me, the big thing was, it was a lot of who do you trust kind of things.
Yeah. I feel like it's trying to be something like a heist book without enough of the buy-in of what he's trying to do.
I don't know. I don't think I'm getting heist book vibes because heists usually have a lot of planning. And as we can tell from Mickey, planning's not his strong suit.
No, not at all. No.
But what I would actually say is, to me, it feels more like almost a spy novel where you have the spy that you're following and you know that he's going to get caught by the villain at some point, and you just are trying to figure out, A, how is he going to get out of it, and B, how are they going to find out about his nature as a spy, or in this case, as a multiple.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the vibe I got, was less of that, more of, okay, he's interacting in this society in which he is not supposed to exist. So, yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I will kind of agree with that because, if nothing else, I caught myself that getting through Mickey 7, it was all right. It was good. I mean, like, it was a lot of listen for a couple of hours, stop the book, that kind of stuff. Antimatter Blues, I sat down and basically made it through like 75 or 80% of the book in like one sitting.
Yep. Right, just one more thing before we get to Antimatter Blues.
Yeah.
I do believe that there were just not enough Mickeys in this book. The way that they were treating him, it really felt like there should have been more Mickeys. And that's why, actually, interestingly, the movie coming out is Mickey 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is a good move. There should, by the time we've talked to him, he should have died more times. I guess the book did outline every single way he did die, but I'm not even sure we needed that. You know, I don't know if we need it all spelled out. Like, this one died this way, this one died this way, this one died this way. There could have been a bunch of them where, like, yeah, a few of them died. We're just not telling you because they're not as important. Because most of his deaths just aren't that important. You know, we needed to fix this, so we sent him in and he fixed it, and then died. And then we needed to fix this, so we sent him in and he fixed it. Like, there should have been more of those unimportant deaths, as opposed to all of them being important, because they don't need to be all important. He was an expendable.
Yeah. I mean, I was anticipating things like, all right, we need to be able to tell whether or not we can digest this food. Mickey, eat.
Yep.
I was expecting that kind of level, and then him getting poisoned by everything.
Right.
I agree. Mickey 7 is too low a number.
Right.
Especially because by the time you're in the book, I think it's like, congratulations, we've been on this journey for 9 years, I think it was originally.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 9 years. And so in the 9 years of your entire trip, yeah, sure, most of the travel is not going to be like dangers all the time. But once you've made it there, he was Mickey7 on the planet's surface for like 2 years.
Right. Yes. When did they talk about how he did like breathe the air and they decided, they needed rebreathers and stuff and inoculations. So that killed 2 of him.
Yeah.
But that's totally like there should have been more of those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, for like, all right, we're going to see if the bacteria of this planet kill you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And to make a booster to prevent all those diseases, it's going to take more than 2. Because trial and error.
Yep, I think so too. I guess we were led to believe that they were that scientifically advanced, but still.
Yeah, right.
But still. All right, so yes, Antimatter Blues.
All right, this one I had more fun with.
Me too. Like you said, I actually rereading this one again, I read it in one afternoon. It was that good. I did have it playing a little bit faster because I'd read it already once, but yeah, this one, it sucks you in a little bit better.
I guess my number one complaint about Antimatter Blues is I found it funny, but it also was very hard, was the fact that Speaker was speaking with
Alberto's voice?
Alberto's voice, yes.
So it's hard to tell when it's Alberto and when it's Speaker.
Well, that was one issue I had with it. So especially in a audiobook format, the person who was doing the voices had a very specific voice for Alberto, and he did the exact same voice for Speaker. My actual bigger issue with it was the fact that, like, there were certain things that, yeah, I get that he's picking up idioms from their conversations and ways of talking that's from their conversations, but there are certain things that I was just like, that seems way too specific of a language use for this alien to
have understood.
To either have understood or to be talking in that way. Yeah, some of the language choices for the alien bothered me. It was almost too silly in certain cases, I guess is the best way to put it. Silly's a bad word for it, but it just didn't fit for me.
I think you're right, because there were some times where he had a firm grasp on the language and sometimes where he sounded like he was just trying to get his words out.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, which one is it? Does he not know or does he know? Or then don't use the idioms. Come on.
Yeah, and so there was a little bit of inconsistency there, but that was my minor complaint about that language stuff. But I mean, and that's my minor complaint considering the fact that I actually really did enjoy Antimatter Blues.
My biggest problem with this book, and maybe it's a little bit bigger than that problem, is, oh, come on, make a backup before you go out. He knew this was very possibly a suicide mission.
Yeah.
Make a backup first.
Well, why would he do that? Because that would decrease any kind of drama.
I know. Yes, that's the only problem, is that he didn't do it for plot reasons. And I'm like, then the plot should have been fixed. Make a backup first. My goodness.
Yeah, especially if you think that the guy in charge is trying to wake up copies of you that are more going to listen to him more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You already know he's waking up copies of you. Make a backup so that the next copy that wakes up doesn't want to do what he's asking you to do because he knows now all the history that happened in the past 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, okay. Sorry. Okay, let's ignore that problem now that we've vented it because the plot requires us.
We're ignoring the 2 problems that we just mentioned.
Yes. Although I do going back to Speaker, I do like him a lot. Oh, he's great.
Oh, Speaker is great.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything against Speaker. I'm saying things against the way in which Speaker talks is sometimes a little inconsistent.
I think I didn't catch this the first time I read through it, but the fact that they really are 2 different species, right? Speaker's people and the aliens from the South. Let me see if I'm understanding it fully correctly still, because again, that might not even be true.
All right, and I have my understanding of that, but yeah.
I think Speaker's people are definitely a cyborgish type, more leaning on the Borgish part of that, but cyborgish type race of insect-like animals or whatever. And then the people from the South are basically a parasite that is on top of the cyborgish type aliens.
Yes, that is my understanding. So, based on what I understand of their culture, it sounds like they have a prime who essentially is the one who's directing everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little unclear on what that means for sentience and free will and all that stuff. But setting all that aside...
Yeah, well, that is interesting too. I agree with that statement. But yes, okay. Setting that aside.
Setting that aside, we have the partially biological and partially mechanical beings who specifically say that the thing that limits their reproduction is whether or not they're able to get the metals for the new beings.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Then you have this other being that is some kind of parasite that Speaker says was never able to latch on to larger or sentient animals, but somehow got to the point where it could latch on to one of the primes. And through that, was able to spread to this collective.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think I am intrigued.
Because they're both shaped like creepers.
Well, to me, they're both creepers, but one of them has this parasite that is controlling the main creeper that is then affecting the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. But it does seem like, because again, Speaker's people do sterilize everything that come from the people from the South. So it does seem like it's not just the prime that has the parasite. Others have it as well.
Yeah, well, again, I think that's where you get into, are they a hive mind? What is the actual function of how their communication and their society works? Are they a hive mind, or are they just like able to communicate in a, I don't know, telepathic or some kind of way? What does that actually look like, and what does their society look like? And you know what? The book doesn't answer that.
No, it doesn't really answer that.
Well,
but it was interesting. I mean, because I think the first time I just thought, oh, they're both creepers. And then, you know, at the end of the book, Speaker saying, oh, don't you realize we're both different? And I was like thinking, they're not different. I mean, maybe that's part of the joke. Like they don't look different, but they actually are different. I just didn't catch it the first time through.
Well, I mean, he specifically says that they're different and that they don't know how it happened, and so they're sealing up the cave with the fungus in it so that they can study it.
So they can study it, right? Okay.
Well, that's what they said. Why would they lie?
I did think that the sacrifice of the captain at the end was a very nice bow on the story.
Yeah, I think that was good wrap-up of the story. I will say, I totally expected it.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect it. The first time either. And even in the I had forgotten I saw my note because I had written that note my first time reading it. And I was like, what does that mean? The sacrifice of the captain was a nice bow. And then I was like, oh, right. He gives himself up. Right.
I mean, honestly, I expected it when he got back, returned the bomb to the captain, and then said, we've got a place to go. And the captain was standing there. And I was like, oh, the captain's going to put it back in. That's about where I figured it out.
Okay.
Because otherwise, Mickey would have had to put it back in, or they'd have to use a drone. And because of the way that their interpersonal conflict had been going so long, I knew one of the two of them was going to have to bend in some way, and that was the only way that the conflict would end in a way that was satisfying for the fact that this is the end of the books as they currently are.
Right.
And I mean, if any other path had been taken, I don't think it would have been as satisfying of an ending. And so that's why I just go, oh yeah, obviously this is going to happen, because that's the way that you end up with a satisfying story.
Yeah, it did tie it very nicely. All right, but I definitely think that this book had a better conflict, just in general. Like, I think, well, more intriguing, draw you in kind of conflict too. Like, it's just...
You mean, hey, there's been a Cold War, and oops, we landed in the middle of the Cold War.
Right, yep, we're in the middle of the Cold War.
Ooh, I just realized something. So I was trying to avoid saying something earlier, but by just calling that a Cold War, I just realized something that makes it actually very apt. what I was almost thinking of Mickey7 as is to me that felt like a story about somebody dealing with essentially McCarthyism.
Okay.
You know what I mean by that, right?
No, I don't know what that is. I mean, MacArthur's the guy that came here to Japan.
Oh, sorry, that McCarthy.
McCarthy? Okay, I don't know that.
So McCarthyism is what happened in like the 1940s, 1950s, where people were afraid of communism in America.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would have your neighbors reporting on each other.
Oh, right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so it was a lot of paranoia about like getting reported to the government and getting either put in jail or put in trouble or cut off from society because of past mistakes or past associations with communists or socialist groups or things like that. And it led to a lot of stuff like that. And for me, I was going to say earlier, rather than the spy novel example, I was going to say it gave me like a lot of McCarthyism vibes, where it was like essentially a fear of being turned in by your neighbors, because that is essentially brought about because of Cold War things. Well, in Antimatter Blues, it is the Cold War, where the only difference is rather than having the Cold War be among the humans, it is, congrats, we have Cold War between these two alien groups, and we are a country that got stuck in the middle, and they're going to have a proxy war between us, or on top of us.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, side note.
No, I mean, that's true. I mean, I think that's part of what makes it interesting. It's this war and the negotiations, and I mean, even the fact that there are intermediaries before you get to the people from the South that are kind of allies with the South, but not allies with Speaker's people, so they want the rover. Like, there's just a whole bunch of politics that the humans have to deal with that they're not really understanding, or diggers, right? Like, oof. Oh, you mean don't stop here because we could have just walked 50 more meters and been fine. Oh, that's what you meant by don't stop here. Like,
yeah, rather than don't stop here because this ground has diggers where they will burrow through your chest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one.
Maybe just a point of extra information there. Huh, Speaker?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Although he probably said it while Mickey was falling asleep.
I mean, he was saying things. It's just Mickey wasn't catching what it all meant.
Yeah.
Which was, okay. And I wasn't either. Like, oh, if you just go 50 more. Like, and it wasn't like, oh, what do you mean by don't stop here? Where could we stop? Oh, just walk 10 more minutes. Oh, we could do 10 more minutes if we know that we're all going to be alive afterward. Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, that's just not all sinking in.
Although, that guy did have to die.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, unfortunately, probably.
Well, he was the one who was causing a lot of conflict of the members on that team.
Yeah, I agree.
And so the conflict between Speaker and the rest of the group can only be resolved if the guy who is constantly yelling about how he doesn't trust Speaker is no longer in the group. And
actually, I was thinking when the rover pilot volunteered his life, reading through the second time, I was like, really? That happens? I forgot that happens. Does he give his life? And I'm like, oh, okay. In the end, he doesn't, right? Okay. But at first I was like, really?
See, and here I was thinking, wait, they keep talking about these ancillaries. I would want a clear definition from Speaker about what he means by an ancillary so that I could think of what could I give them.
Yeah, can't you just give the plant that's sitting there, right? That looks like an ancillary. It's biological and it's smaller.
Yeah. Like, what would they count as an ancillary?
How about a cat? Would they count a cat? Sorry.
Or at the very least, could we give them a remote control car?
Yeah, exactly.
Because honestly, if they define an ancillary as something that basically is kind of a remote controlled kind of thing,
it makes sense.
Then, like a little radio controlled car is, I think it would work. Mm-hmm. Although I do think that nuking them is perhaps a more permanent solution.
Yeah. Yep. It was good. That was good. All right. Yeah. I think people should read these books.
Yeah.
I think that it definitely dealt with cloning differently.
Yes. Basically, rather than in the previous story where we were talking about how in 6 weeks it was definitely, you're waking up and it's you and dealing with all that sort of stuff. But it dealt with how society would accept those things. This dealt a lot more with how an individual would accept their own mortality while not being necessarily as mortal as normal.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. Six Wakes had a ship that was full of patterns, right? Where they would just wake up clones of the people who had been stored.
Yeah.
Both Mickey7 and Antimatter Blues, their ship is full of embryos, not clones, interestingly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas obviously they have the technology to make clones of all the people.
Yeah.
But I guess they're saying they can't store them or something. I guess embryos are easier to store than clone patterns.
Or at least maybe easier to...
easier to wake, right?
Yeah. And the other side of it is, remember, you're dealing with a ship that is probably, based on the way people have talked, probably like at least 50% natalist.
Yeah, that's true too. They wouldn't do that, yeah.
You'd be waking up an entire planet without souls.
Yeah. From their perspectives, yes. So, yeah, that's just interesting. I do think that, according to the world that they portrayed, waking up embryos is a lot less power intensive.
Yes.
But a lot slower way to build a colony.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. I do wonder, honestly, one of the things that I was thinking was going to happen was in the conversations with Speaker and that group, were they going to, at the very least, maybe talk about like, hey, maybe is there a way that we could talk about potential food sources or things like that? Or how do you guys stay alive during the cold months?
Do they think the diggers could be barbecued for the humans to eat?
I don't think I would want to potentially raise those as a food source.
Yeah, that might be dangerous.
I mean, that's like, hey guys, we've decided to raise little velociraptors.
Yes, it would be similar to that, yes.
We've decided to raise these little velociraptors as a potential food source. Nothing wrong will ever happen with that.
Mm-hmm.
Clever girls.
Yeah. So, I think people should read them. I think they're fun books.
Yeah, they were.
I think it definitely got better in the second book.
Yeah.
Which isn't always the case.
I guess my gut is saying that, again, because Goodreads doesn't allow me decimals.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're a 5-point scale, Ryan. It's rough.
I know, because I almost want to say Mickey7 was like a 4 and Antimatter Blues like a 4.2.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I felt about them. But, I mean, on their scale, that's 4 and 4.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You can't do anything in between.
Yeah, or maybe if I'm being really mean, I might give Mickey7 like a 3.8 and then Antimatter Blues a 4.2. But I can't do those decimals.
No, and I think that Mickey7 does a lot of setup.
Yes. That's the thing is, we've been harsh on Mickey7 a little bit more, but Antimatter Blues doesn't land if you don't have that.
Right. You have to have all of that setup that Mickey7 is putting in place.
And it is a lot more of the character drama in Mickey7.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Where, like, who do you trust? Do you trust 8? Do you trust Berto?
Yeah, Berto. All of the stuff about Berto is set up in Mickey7.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not really touching on it. I mean, they're hinting at a little bit of it in Antimatter Blues, and some of it's coming to fruition, like free climbing a wall that he's never done, but of course he will and can and does amazingly.
Yeah, because you never bet against him.
Right. I mean, that story is told in Antimatter Blues again, but it was really set up with the whole plane flying through the crack in Mickey7 and all that stuff. So, like, yeah, you're right. Antimatter Blues, higher rating, is because half of it really is in Mickey7. Okay, so here's my question. I was a little bit worried asking you to read both of them together. Not because it was too long, but like maybe should we have just made 2 episodes of this? I think I'm actually pretty pleased that we just read them both together.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they're better as one book.
If I had just read Mickey7, it would have been, all right, it was all right. But with both, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, do I have my complaints about them? Yeah, but they were good.
I think I'm glad I had you read them both together. I think that worked better in this case than in City of Ember.
Well, I'm always happy to read a book. So, Nate,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? We're back to Pratchett. Well, we're going to read Men at Arms.
Is this the third book of the Watch one or second book of the Watch?
I think this is the second. I don't think we read the second Watch books yet. Because the most recent one was Weird Sisters, and then Reaper Man before that.
Wait, we did Guards.
Guards was 55. All the way back at 50.
Long ago?
Yeah, because we read 55, and then we read a lot of Sanderson, and then a lot of Becky Chambers. Yeah. So this is book 2. Because Reaper Man was Death book 2. Weird Sisters was Witches book 2. This is the Watch book 2. Okay. So I'm going to have you read Men at Arms, which is book 2 in the Watch series for the Terry Pratchett books. In this one, this is where the Watch has gained a little bit more notoriety and a little bit more popularity, and so they have to bolster the number of their troops. And it is about living in a very cosmopolitan city.
I'm excited to read it. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Guards before.
This is where they start to get a little bit more diversity in the ranks.
Oh, okay. I think it feels more than number 2 because they've been mentioned in other books.
Oh, yes. The Guards are in like so many books but they usually show up for 1 or 2 scenes.
Right. Yes. No, I agree with that. What was the one we read where the dragons burned everything down?
That would have been the first one, Guards.
Guards. Okay.
Yes. One of the big things that gets added in this book, you get some dwarves and some trolls who actually join the Watch.
Okay.
Well, specifically, you get a troll and a dwarf as part of the Watch at the beginning of the book.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. We hope you found something nice about this hill that we were willing to die on, and we appreciate all of our listeners coming along on this journey with us. But have you ever thought to yourself, hey, I really like these guys and what they do, and I just wish that there was some way I could support them? You can. Visit myhilltodieon.com/members for more details. But what does it mean to be a member? Well, for the low price of $2 a month or $15 a year, you can help support this podcast. And by doing so, you'll get access to the members-only podcast, Not My Hill, where we discuss things that are probably somebody else's hill to die on. We have strong feelings about them, but like the title says, definitely not hills we'd be willing to die on. Additionally, you will also get access to the suggestion forum where you can make suggestions for our Listener Hill episodes, where we'll watch, read, or climb up a hill that you're willing to die on, and we'll talk all about it. But know that the conversation doesn't have to end here. The discussion can continue with us through Reddit at My Hill to Die On, or by contacting us through email, which is, to no one's surprise, myhilltodieon@gmail.com. And finally, we upload all of our episodes to our YouTube channel, which is also named, say it with me now, folks, My Hill to Die On. In my time living here in Japan, one sec, I'm about to sneeze.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I say that out loud, and then...
then you know it doesn't come.
Yep. All right. In my time here at Japan...
Didn't I buy Deep Space Nine the other day?
I don't know.
Huh.
I mean, you don't tell me everything you buy.
Yeah, but I don't. But I thought I bought Deep Space Nine. I'll put it in my list of things to look for, yeah.
Sad part is that was pretty recently on sale.
Yeah. Well, it'll come up again.
Yeah. How do you feel, Nate, about having one of the lowest scoring episodes
for stuff
our
ever?
Food?
I feel like it's going to come sometime. I feel like we haven't used really bottom of the scale much as we should anyway, so it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, well, you know what? We had 2 things today that deserve the bottom of the scale.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, so...
Oh, well.
Yeah, well, I am happily now just letting my tea steep because I needed something. I will say, discussion can continue. I was dumb when I put those words together. Discussion can continue. It's the cushion can continue is just too many in a row.
I'm okay if you want to change them.
I will think about what I can change it to. Oh my gosh. The discussion can continue. It's a tongue twister every time.
We've done well. We've kept it to 2 hours, 24 minutes on my recording.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad for all our futzing around at the beginning that we had to do, changing our pick to and everything.
Hey. I started a little late, and I'm still at 2 hours, 20 minutes, basically.
Yeah. We did good.